my good friend Steve Tyson and I have decided that we are going to create the top 25 albums of the 21st century thus far. And in order to do this, we both made a personal top 25, which means we currently have about 50 albums in contention. I say about because there's some overlap. Um, and what we're going to do in this discussion right here is we're going to turn this into our 25. We're going to take whatever amalgamation of albums that we've created and then turn it into a 25. This is kind of the selection spectacular. If you ever seen those March Madness selection shows, it's like that, but the only committee is me and Steve here. Um, Steve, what's happening, man? How are you?
I'm great, bro. I'm great. It's good to see you again.
It's good to see you. It's always good to see you. It's always good to discuss hip hop with you.
No, hell yeah,
My
man.
my
Yeah.
favorite thing.
Likewise. Likewise. It's gonna be a lot of fun. Just even looking at your list now and thinking about the ones that are solid, thinking about the ones that we're definitely gonna have some conversations over. But yeah, I mean, I think overall my perspective is, it's a personal list, and then it's also, the albums that really help to shift the culture in a lot of ways.
For sure.
Whether or not it may even be my favorite album from the artist or not.
Definitely. And
So
that's going to be a big piece of the discussion, I feel like, because there's certain things on your list that like I don't personally love, but I have to I have to respect what they mean for hip hop and what they did for the art form and pushing the art form forward. And so that was kind of a difficult balancing act. And it's
hmm
something that I texted you about was like, there's personal favorites, which is what my list is, but then like I know that I missed out on some because,
Oh yeah.
you know, I don't personally like them, but I know how important they are because, I
Right.
I try to be a student of hip hop. I try and know what's important, but like also certain things just don't resonate with me. So I wanted to talk to you a little bit about that before we kind of get into the albums. Like, what was your selection process like when you were kind of creating your 25, your personal one?
The most difficult criteria to navigate was having one album per artist.
Hmm.
Especially if that artist is part of a duo or a group. So that definitely informed my list from the start because I'm like, oh, there's this album, and then I think about another and another, and then I think about this other. I'm like, oh wait, that's the same artist. So it was definitely a personal approach at the same time too. I think I really just started with what are albums I love, and then what are ones that I know that may I think all of them really have a right to be in my personal top 25, but it's just like as far as, the love of hip hop is concerned, it's like I don't want to cut any. I don't want that kind of feeling.
Same. When I was constructing my list, yeah, I mean, for people who might be listening to this, we did do one album per artist because, you know, I don't want to speak for you, Steve, but like very easily, my top 10 could have been entirely Kendrick, Jay-Z, and Kanye,
Right. Yeah.
and like I
Yeah.
wouldn't have any qualms about it. But that
hmm
makes for not such an interesting list.
Of
So
course.
we decided to just whittle it down to one album per
hmm
artist.
hmm
And yeah, I mean, that's the thing is like these are, in our opinion, the top 50 albums out of the thousands and thousands that were released between 2000, because we did decide
Yep.
on 2000, even though the Naval Academy or whatever that website is says 2001's the start of the century. We went 2000. So out of the thousands and thousands of albums that were released since 2000, these are the top 50 in our opinion. So even though we're going to cut some very quickly, you know,
hmm
that still means they made it into the quote unquote top 50.
Exactly.
So to go about this process, we currently have, like I said, about 50 albums, and we are going to try and whittle that down to 25. The first step in that process is Steve and I are both going to just like cut 10 from each other's lists. Within this, we both have two vetoes for things that we really want to like stand up for, we're gonna quote unquote die on that hill. of these particular albums that we veto. And what we're going to do here is we're going to go back and forth. I'm going to cut two of Steve's, then Steve's going to cut two of mine. Steve, the one question I had here was when an album is brought up, do we
Hmm.
immediately have to veto it then, or can we save a veto depending on what comes up later? Or do we have to like kind of play the game
Ooh.
and like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, we got to do it in the moment and play the game. Absolutely.
let's go
But
very
I
tough?
think that we can wait until we hear the reason as to why before, like, rather than just hearing the title and veto or not, like, we can hear out the reason and then
Okay.
determine if it's a veto.
Okay.
But
I love
one
it.
and one is only.
All right. I think that's the right decision. I'm gonna go with my first two cuts if that's okay.
All
Um,
right, here we go.
these were pretty easy. Again, they're both great albums. I love them very much. But for me, both of these represented things where I love individual tracks from these records rather than the project as a whole.
Hmm.
And so like when I saw them on the list, I was like, oh man, this has this track and this track. But like when I tried to sit down and kind of remember like the album, I was like, a little bit forgettable. So
Hmm.
my first two are Nelly's Country Grammar
Yep.
and Migos Culture 2.
Oh wow. Whoa, okay. I knew Nelly was gonna be the first cut. I knew it off rip because that was my last. That was my like number 25 out of the 25.
Okay.
Did not see Migos coming for that for as culture too. Wow.
All right.
Um,
So let's talk about it a little bit because,
yeah,
all right, I think we can both agree Country Grammar, like, some hits.
yeah, massive,
And
massive. You know.
I will bump those hits till the day I
Hmm.
die.
Of
And they
course,
will
Ride With
always get the
Me, Country
party.
Grammar, all of them. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
The album as a whole to me, not that great.
Not
Migos,
even batter. You got batter up. You got some. There's some deep cuts on that album though.
there are. There are. It's again, it's not for me, but I do respect the album. I know Nelly's huge, and a huge influence on a subsect of the rap culture that doesn't get recognized often. St.
Hmm.
Louis,
Hmm.
like he's
Yeah.
repping pretty much all alone for that city and
He had Chingy for a little bit.
Cheney for a minute. Migos for me, like it falls into the same category, like it's bad and bougie, and that's kind of it.
That's
But
not even on this album though.
it's not.
No,
What
that's on
album am I
Culture
thinking?
One.
Well, that's the thing. Like Migos' whole fucking discography gets twisted up in my head.
Nah, man. So I would say, I mean, Culture Two. I think, first of all, I think that for a top 25 list for albums of the 21st century, when I think about people who are culture shifters, Migos, without question, changed how everyone raps. Like everybody does the triplet flow. It's the most popular flow of rap that's been this way for the last 15 years. And that's because of the Migos and specifically because of Takeoff and then influencing Offset and Quavo. But for me, without question, the Migos has to be represented. The loss of Takeoff was massive because I think that out of those three, he was the most underrated, but he was, in my opinion, the most skilled. And even in Quavo and Offset's opinion, they wouldn't have been doing it if it wasn't for Take and his passion for the culture and the way in which he rapped influenced the both of them, and the way in which they rap as a collective influenced everyone who raps. So Migos had to be in there. But when I think about their discography, Culture was fantastic. I mean, even YRN and all their old stuff and the mixtape stuff was valid too. But I think that as like a entire body of work, it is a lengthy album. I think there's like 20 something songs on it.
A lot of filler.
I think that there is. I don't even know if there's that much filler, and that's that's why I chose that out of all their albums because Culture could have just been right there too. Culture was also massive. So many great tracks on that album. I might even have to rethink Culture versus Culture too. But either way, one of those two albums should be on this list. But I respect the cut. There are going to be some painful cuts, and we came right out the gate with it.
So you're not going to use a veto here?
No, I'm not going to use veto. I'm going to
Okay.
hold that. Yeah, because I
So
know that. Yeah, I'm glad we got a painful one out the way.
this was one of the things that I was also trying to like respect with the list because like I know that we have to have something from that 2010s Atlanta contingent
Hmm.
on here.
Hmm.
And so you had a lot of representation from that. I have less so. And it's just that's part of the, personal preference thing. So
Hmm.
I just tried to select like, all right, if I'm looking at all these Atlanta collective, what's my
Mm.
least favorite? And Migos to me
Hmm.
was that. And so I
Mm.
kept on a further, Atlanta one that's like that's my album.
I didn't even realize. Like, I'm actually looking back to my list. I'm like, oh yeah, there's some decent Atlanta representation on here, but
Yeah.
I wasn't cognizant of that. It was more. That's just how the culture has really
Mhm.
been for the last 25 years too. Like Atlanta is the black capital of the country right now.
Indeed. All right. So Steve, your turn. You get to cut two of mine.
I think that my first cut, and it's I would say my first cut is by default. As somebody who is so immersed in the culture, to say that I don't know of an artist or an album, is a vulnerability to that. But at the same time, there are so many artists and albums in the culture. I'm happy to learn. And so in this moment, I'll definitely take the opportunity to learn and listen to this album after this conversation. But my first cut is Shabazz Place's Black Up. Um, because I have not heard of the artist nor the album. And I would say my second cut, I'm gonna go The Butcher, Tana Talk 4.
Okay. So I accept both of those. Those are perfectly fine. I would like to discuss Shabazz Palaces for a moment.
Hmm.
So Shabazz Palaces is the follow-up project. You've definitely heard of him. It is Ish from Diggable Planets,
Oh, word.
and it's
Okay.
his, project after Diggable Planets. It's super weird. It's super bizarre, and it
Probably
is
super fucking awesome.
it's incredible, man. And like, I come from a punk and emo background. That is my musical background. Steve is very much in the hip hop culture. So when we talk about these things, like I tend to skew a little bit more underground, a little bit more
Hmm.
random. That's where my taste tends to go. And Shabazz is one that for me, like I've seen this band 3 times live and they've blown me away each and every time. One of those
Word.
times I saw them at an after hours show as part of the Pitchfork Music Festival in Chicago. And the sound in that building was such that the bass was rattling my entire body. Like,
Hmm.
that's how incredible the engineering on this album was, the beats. And then, similar to what Ish was doing with Diggable Planets, it's very jazzy, very free flowing rap style that does not have a ton of coherence, I'd say. And it's very
Hmm.
abstract. But I love it a lot. And this album was the best representation of that. Like, it's their first album, their first full length album. They have a bunch since then, but they went way into the bizarre. Whereas Black Up, that album is still like very listenable, very approachable, and just an excellent album, one through 10. It's a 10-track album. I love it a lot, but totally accept it as a cut. Benny the Butcher. I wanted to have some Griselda, representation on this list, for my personal
Definitely.
top 25. And,
Hmm.
Benny is my favorite of the three. And Tana Talk 4 is an excellent record, but I totally accept that probably doesn't belong in the top 25, but it does belong in the top 50. Totally cool with these two cuts. Good with both of them. All right, so I have a question that comes up with this because I need to potentially make a difficult cut, but
Okay.
I'm not sure the implications of this cut if I make it. So you have two on your list that are collaborative albums, both Nas and Damian Marley's Distant Relatives, and you
Hmm.
have Common and The Rock, The Auditorium.
Pete Rock.
Sorry,
If
not The
Dwayne the
Rock,
Rock
Pete
Johnson
Rock,
was on it, then that shit
not
would be
not
out of
Dwayne
here.
Johnson. Thank you for that correction. Very important. Not Dwayne The Rock Johnson. So Common and Pete Rock's The Auditorium. So you have both those on your top 25.
Yeah.
If I cut one of these, does that cut Common? So like if I cut
Mm.
Common and Pete Rock's The Auditorium, does that get rid of Common?
Is this where we deviate and have a discussion about the common album that is on your list versus this album, as well as the Nas album that's on my list versus the Nas album that's on your list? That's probably where we put a pin in in the cutting.
I guess so. So I guess we have to just have this discussion now. All right, so Common's record for me, because this was the one that I was going to cut here. I was going to cut Common and Pete Rock's The Auditorium.
Mm,
I prefer Common's B, and I
hmm
prefer it quite a bit to this record. So I want to cut it, but I don't want to cut Common's B. So I was
B
looking
can
for a
stay.
technicality.
We can just say right now, B can stay. I can 100% see the argument for it being top 25 of the century. But I would say that Common and Pete Rock's The Auditorium, the reason why I put it in on my list instead of B and instead of Finding Forever was because the resurgence of artists from previous eras in recent years has been incredible. I think Nas really kind of was a catalyst in that. But for the amount of artists that have been dropping albums this year that we might not have heard from in a while, like Common and Pete Rock, MC Light dropped a phenomenal album this past year. Slick Rick dropped a really great new album. LL Cool J's album produced by Q-Tip was excellent. So I think that out of all of that, though, the best of folks who were doing that was this album for me. And given its time and space and letting it breathe a little longer, there will be an argument of this album going up with B, going up with Finding Forever for sure. You know, it feels like it could easily be 1988, yet it feels very fresh and very 2024, 2025, 2026. And the work that Bilal did on this album, I think that Bilal is another very underrepresented individual in hip hop, you know, with his opportunity to extend jazz into spaces and into folks' ears. We talked a little bit about, you know, Shabazz Palaces and all, and the work that Ish and just that whole crew has been doing. I think that the bridging of music of the African diaspora is very important. So for folks like Common and Pete Rock and the Roots and all these other individuals who lean on individuals like Bilal and other folks, you know, D'Angelo, rest in peace. This falls very much in line with that. It's all good though because B is a classic. Common definitely needs to be represented, and so we can definitely go with B.
The one thing that I just wanted to add, like Bilal is one of my favorite ever hip hop collaborators. Any
Hmm
track that he is featured on, I'm immediately listening to that track and I'm probably gonna love it. All right, so I'm safe to cut Common and Pete Rock's The Auditorium. My
hmm
other cut, and this one's really difficult, but I'm cutting Cameron's Purple Haze.
That's fine. That's fine.
I wanted to keep something from the Dipset crew,
Hmm
and to me, if it was gonna be something, it's Joel Santana,
What
and
the
it's an
games have been missing? That album?
I think
That's
so.
what you're talking about?
I didn't even select one, but I was just like,
Yeah, yeah. I was
I
gonna say that's
like
not even on your list, so it's all
it's
good.
not, but like if I'm gonna have something from Dipset, it's gonna be Joel's. And
Mm,
it's another case of like the
wow.
hits from this album are so monumental, but like the project as a whole doesn't hold up for me. Like, what's the fucking song? Killer Chem, Killer Chem, Chem, Killer,
Oh yeah,
Killer,
yeah,
Killer
yeah, yeah.
Chem.
Yeah,
Like, oh
yeah.
my
I
God,
remember
dude.
that.
That
No,
song,
that's on this album. That's
okay.
on this album. Down and Out is on this album. Bubble Music is on this album. Harlem Streets is on this album. This album's got heat.
And
Hey Lady,
this album
sheesh,
was going
get 'em girls. Yeah, nah, this album goes.
this album was going up in 2005 in college parties.
Oh, 100%.
It
Oh my
was
God.
it was a very hot record during that time. But
Yes.
I had to make it. I don't feel
Hmm
great about it, but it had to be done.
All right, cool. So let's see here. So out of your list, I say my next cut, Vince Staples, Summertime '06.
veto.
And then
Huge
hit
veto.
the veto. I knew it was gonna.
You cannot cut
Yep.
you cannot cut Vince Staples' Summertime
Oh,
'06 right
absolutely.
now. So I'm
Um,
vetoing that. I don't need to hear
no,
your reasoning. I don't need to
veto
hear
is
anything
used.
else. The veto is used.
Veto is used. Understood. Understood. All right.
I'm going to stump hard for that fucking record. Because for me, like on my list, that's number 8. And I fucking love that record. I think it's super important. And I think it's by far Vince Staples' best work. And I think Vince Staples is a very important piece of the hip hop community. So we will get into that, but yeah, big veto.
Cool. So summertime '06 is safe for now. My next strike would be Ghostface Killah's Fish Scale. My album Supreme Clientele. And Supreme Clientele is one of the greatest rap albums of all time. So that's why I'm like
No doubt.
it's got to stay in in the top 25 discussion at minimum.
All right. All
But
right, we can
Fish Scale's good, but it doesn't hold a candle to Supreme Clientele, in my opinion.
I do agree with that in the end. I ended up going with Fish Scale just because the skits in this record are the
Yeah.
funniest fucking skits of all time. But yeah, Supreme Clientele is better. All right, so let's cut that. That's fine. I'm cool. All right, so the next one is I'm going to do the other collab record, Nas and Damian Marley's Distant Relatives. I
Mm-hmm.
preferred Nas's Godson quite a bit more than this record, so I want to go with Nas's Godson. And I like what this album is doing. I respect it quite a bit. I don't like it all that much,
Mm,
is where I
mm.
fall with this record.
Sonically or lyrically?
Sonically, lyrically, it's fucking phenomenal.
Hmm.
I can't deny that. Sonically, it's just I don't want to disparage reggae, but it gets old pretty quickly for me. If I want to listen to a reggae record, I'm going to go back and I'm going to listen to Toots and the Maytals and I'm going to listen to Exodus by Bob Marley. That's where I fall.
I think it's interesting that you would consider this album reggae,
Well,
which is
it's very
because
reggae
it is just
influence.
because there's a Marley on it doesn't mean that it like yeah they recorded it in Tough Gong Studios, but I would say that overall I would say that like the sonics of it is very much the diaspora. So there definitely can be a feeling of like, oh, this is very much Jamaican in a lot of ways, or this feels very Caribbean in certain aspects, in certain songs, very feeling very African. And then also feeling very boom bap hip hop at the same time too. And that bridge acknowledging each of those stops along the journey in the diaspora, I think that's why I chose this one as my Nas album, versus a lot of other ones from 2000 till today that could have easily been on the list.
And
Hmm.
I do want to say, like, I hear you, but I do feel like reggae is the backbone of each beat, even though it's bringing in everything else. So then the other one is Jeezy's The Recession. That was difficult. But uh again, it goes back to the Atlanta
Wow.
thing, and
Uh-huh.
I kept the Atlanta one that I wanted the most, and so I had to cut Jeezy's Recession.
Mm.
Um, difficult cut, but
Yeah, yeah, because I think that I mean Jeezy's two best albums for me are either The Recession or TM 101. Probably TM 101 overall, but The Recession, I think it's just his lyricism is just better. Jeezy's The Recession, I think the timing of it all, the way in which he is offering his perspective to the broader recession that we were in when the album came out, in addition to the culture shift of Obama's presidency happening with his song My President with Nas. The remix of that with Jay-Z was the anthem of Obama's inauguration. They're culturally impactful moments, and not just hip hop culture wise, but American culture and by and large global culture. The impact that this album had, it certainly is there, if folks choose to recognize it or not. There are definitely other representatives of Atlanta for sure that will end up in our top 25 collectively. But I think that, Jeezy definitely deserves to be in that conversation, definitely deserves to be top 50. And if I'm thinking of his albums, easily the first two I would consider for Jeezy being in the top 50 would be The Recession or TM 101.
that was part of it for me is Thug Motivation is the one for me, and Thug Motivation on my personal list would come in somewhere like 30 to 35. If it's Young Jeezy's The Recession, like I don't like this album as much as Thug Motivation 101 because that's not in my top 25. I gotta cut that. Your third cuts.
My next cuts from your list are Isaiah Rashad, Sylvia Demo,
Hmm,
and are you gonna use another veto?
might,
And
might.
I would also say my next cut after that would be West Side Gun, Pray for Paris.
All right, West Side Gun, Pray for Paris is cool to go. That's another case of I just wanted some Griselda representation. I love West Side Gun and I love Pray for Paris, but I can't stump for it that hard. Isaiah Rashad, this is one of my personal favorite artists that gets no shine whatsoever,
Absolutely right.
and I don't quite understand it. I guess it's probably the case of like, okay, fine. Of the TDE artists, you got Kendrick, obviously, you got Schoolboy, you got SZA, and so Isaiah Rashad,
J Rock.
J Rock, Absol, he gets lost in that,
Yeah.
entire TDE cloud. But to me, he's
Hmm.
the second best. It's
Hmm.
Kendrick, and then it's Isaiah Rashad, and then it's Schoolboy in my personal
Hmm.
rankings. But I can understand this being cut because it does not have the cultural relevance piece. It's hard for me to accept it. I want to use the veto, but I'm going to save the veto because I feel like there's going to be something else that you're going to cut. This is part of playing the game. I want to use my veto, but I'm not going to. Sylvia Demo is just a personal favorite record of mine. I love it so much, but I do understand why it has to be cut from the cultural relevance piece because it's not been that widely heard. But if people are just hearing this name now, go check out this fucking record. It's absolutely incredible.
It's been recommended to me by a few different people, but I like for some reason it never stuck as far as staying on repeat or me circling back to it at all. And it's not a knock against Isaiah Rashad. Like personally, I gotta thank Isaiah Rashad also. Whenever I ended up in my weird rap battle with B.O.B., it was Isaiah Rashad who hit me up and was like, "Yo, you gotta take this song and also put it up on YouTube. That way more people can hear it." So I did, and I was just like, "Yo, thanks, dude. I appreciate that." It was just out of nowhere. So yeah, shout out to Isaiah Rashad. Like, definitely seems like a great guy.
Great guy, great talent. Um, One of my personal favorite rappers. I also think part of what gets lost with him is he's very experimental stylistically.
Hmm. Hmm.
Like when you listen to what's actually interestingly his biggest song on Spotify is West Savannah, from Sylvia Demo. It
Hmm.
does not have any verse, any hook. It is a complete vibe track that does not contain any traditional rapping. And so I don't know. I respect the hell out of Isaiah Rashad. I love his music so much. But I do understand it having to be cut. All right. Fourth cuts. This is where we're getting into very difficult territory. I don't feel
Yeah.
good about either of these cuts that I'm about to make, but I'm about to make them. The first one is Missy Elliott's Miss E So Addictive.
Wow.
I don't feel great about this. My only reasoning is that Super Duper Fly is the best album and it's from the 90s, and I have no other
Yeah, it's from
reasoning.
the '90s. It can't count.
Yeah. And I like that record better. And so this is by far her second best record. And it's got a lot of incredible tracks. And I love Missy Elliott, but don't feel good about it. But I had to cut it.
Well, so the only thing I'll say is this is definitely her best album. Super Duper Fly is great, but it's unreal what her and Timberland were doing. But so I'm unsure if I'm going to use a veto or not. We can still have one more round of cuts, right?
Yeah, we got
Yeah.
well, I have
Yeah,
three more
I'm gonna
cuts
hold off.
total.
That yeah, no, I know exactly where I'm gonna use the veto for because I know one that you're going to attempt to cut, and I'm gonna have to veto that. So I'm gonna hold on. I'll hold on my veto for now, and we can
Okay.
definitely cut Missy. But Missy and this album, should be in that top 50 conversation, top 25 conversation, just her influence on the game, her, importance, not just for women in rap, but, specifically for women in rap, just for everybody in rap. I mean, if Missy wasn't doing what she was doing, we wouldn't have the Lil Wayne that we have today. And he's acknowledged that. There's so many artists who've acknowledged I wouldn't be who I was or have explored the creativity that I was trying to express through my art if it wasn't for Missy Elliott and be inspired by her. So thinking about her and her catalog and her influence, Get Your Freak On, For My People, all these really incredible tracks, even hilarious ones like 1 Minute Man and all. I mean, Get Your Freak On was one of Michael Jackson's favorite songs ever. So I mean, like her music is undeniable. But we've got to whittle this list down, and so with that, like there are other ones that I know a veto will need to be used on. So we can say so long to Missy on this.
It's unfortunate. I'd also just like to say Missy Elliott's visuals are
Mm-hmm.
unparalleled. Um,
Yes.
Best music video artist of all time, and I
Yep.
don't think
Shout
it's
out to her
particularly
and
close.
Hype Williams.
Yep, Hype Williams, very important. My second one is a very difficult cut, both from a personal aspect and from a cultural aspect, but it is Lupe Fiasco's Food and Liquor.
Mm, mm,
Um,
mm,
I didn't want to cut it because at the time it was one of my favorite records, and I think I actually texted you about this. It doesn't hold up for me. When I went
mm,
back and
mm,
revisited it and listened to it all the way through, it just didn't hit the same way as it did at the time. The Cool is even worse, and that was actually like my favorite record of that year when it came out. And it has aged even worse, but for some reason Lupe Fiasco just hasn't aged well from that era, and I don't love any of those albums anymore, even though I
mm.
loved them very, very much at the time.
That's strong. That is strong. So you did a full revisit of this album and came to that conclusion, just to
Hmm.
be clear. Wow. Kick push. Just just
Kick Push was the
daydreaming.
only
The
one that
entire
like
story of daydreaming
Kick
and
Push and
how
Daydreamin' are like the only two that like really did hold up. It's kind of the rest of them like
American terrorist.
that
Come
song
on,
felt
bro.
like an Immortal Technique song where I was being fucking preached at, and I didn't love it as much as I did at the time.
Well, you might not be preached of, but some folks do. The Emperor's soundtrack.
Listen,
I'm like, the more I'm actually sitting here going through the list of these songs, like, oh shit, maybe I might have to veto this. Sunshine, dog. Yeah, no, I'm using a veto on this one. I'm vetoing.
okay.
I'm vetoing. That's a veto. Yep. I didn't expect to use a
I didn't
veto, but
expect
here
me
we
cutting
go.
it either. But like, listen, your list is very good, and I had to fucking cut something.
There are still other ones. Like I'm looking at my own list, and I'm like, I would cut this one and possibly this one before I would cut Lupe's Food and Liquor. Wow.
Your fourth round of cuts, and then my fifth round of cuts, and then we are getting
hmm
to the top 25.
My fourth round of cuts are Schoolboy Q, Blank Face LP, and Freddie Gibbs and Madlib, Pinata.
Fuck me. Freddie Gibbs and Pinata, fine. Blank Face LP, shit. All right, Blank Face LP veto. Pinata, I just want to say I fucking love this record. I fucking love Freddie Gibbs. He's one of my favorite rappers from this era, like 2010s. I just love Freddie Gibbs so much. I think his flow,
Gibbs can rap.
he can rap so fucking
Gibbs can
hard.
really rap.
The only knock against Gibbs and why I love this record so much is that Gibbs does not know how to choose fucking beats for the life of him. And so anytime he's on his own with a project, it kind of fucking sucks. But anytime he's paired up with like The Alchemist or Madlib in this case,
hmm
it's fucking fire because the producer just brings the whole thing together and
Yeah.
then Gibbs just spits over it. And it's
hmm
fucking electric. I guess I have to let it go. I don't feel great about it, but I have to let it go. I'm using my other veto on Schoolboy Q's Blank Face LP. We can get into that. I fucking love this record so much. It is also kind of similar to Vince Staples' Summertime '06. Like, okay, maybe it doesn't have all the cultural relevance in the world, but Schoolboy Q is a very important figure in the hip hop landscape of this era, and Blank Face LP to me is a masterpiece.
Hmm.
So I will be stumping for it hard. I really just hope you don't cut something wild out of left field where I don't have veto left, but I'm gonna have to use it. All right, my fifth round cuts. This is where shit's gonna get wild.
Hmm.
Um, because your list is fucking fire, and I don't want to have to cut this shit. And this is the biggest instance of personal preference versus cultural relevance. And I'm cutting Eminem's Marshall Mathers LP.
Mm. Okay. Okay.
Good.
Okay.
I'm glad I got that response because Eminem is by far one of the greatest rappers of all time in
Yep.
terms of skill at the art of rapping.
Hmm.
But as a songwriter and songmaker, he is average to me. He's got hits, they are undeniable, but largely a lot of tracks miss the mark for me. And especially later in his career, and I guess this is not, specifically about Marshall Mathers LP, but it's about Eminem in general. Like, especially later in his career, it always felt to me like Eminem was always just showing off his rapping ability and not focusing on songcraft and making a song. And it's just like, okay, we get it. You're really fucking good at rapping, but how about, making a fucking song that is listenable and I'm not just like oogling and ogling off of your fucking rapping skills. Like a lot of people can do that. I'm not that impressed. Make a cool fucking song, man.
That's why it's interesting. You go from he's one of the best to do it, and like nobody can do it like him, to a lot of people can do it and rap just like that. But so it's like, which one is it?
All right, he can do it that 1% better, but there's so many people that can do it almost as well, like 90% as well, but the song craft is 100% better, in my opinion.
I definitely agree whenever we're thinking about this era of Eminem and like a Marshall Mathers LP. So like I felt that Eminem should be represented in the top 25 because largely his entire career is 2000 and later. Slim Shady LP was what, 99.
Yep.
So I think that his music and specifically his songs after Recovery, like Recovery and later, is better than everything before Recovery. But as far as Eminem and his, career arc and the way in which he kind of broke down so many doors and also exploded to the height of fame that he did when thinking about the early stages of his career, Marshall Mathers LP I think is the best representation of that. Slim Shady LP is a classic for sure, like certified classic. It even sounds great on vinyl. I have it, but Eminem Show also is a very complete project. But I think that his marrying of the skill set with the songwriting doesn't come until Recovery and later.
And all those records didn't have the same cultural relevance
Right,
as
and which is
Slim
why I didn't
Shady
choose any of
LP.
those
Yeah,
and chose Marshall Mathers LP.
totally.
But I mean, Kamikaze is incredible as far as like skill set, but storytelling and songwriting, Marshall Mathers LP two Revival, the death of Slim Shady was boundary pushing in a lot of ways because he's full on immersing himself into a character, but at the same time using that as an opportunity to completely kill off that character once and for all. I just thought like his career trajectory and where he's been going has been incredible, but it hasn't had the same magnitude that the early stuff had, and so that's why I chose Marshall Mathers LP. So I can understand it being a cut considering the other albums we've still got left on the list.
Yeah. All right. And this last one I saved for last because I feel like you're going to use a veto. It's Ludacris's Word of Mouth.
That's fine.
Yeah?
It's
Oh, shit.
I
I
thought
thought,
you were gonna. I'm actually surprised some other ones have stayed on this list that I thought you may cut. But
hell no.
nah, Word of Mouth is phenomenal. I love that album.
See, what I thought
But I
was,
also,
I thought
yeah.
I was going to
Go
have
ahead.
to stump really hard for Theater of Mind, which is my favorite Ludacris
Oh,
record,
okay.
which I was
Yeah.
prepared to do, but uh, I don't know. Luda, Luda had a moment in the sun, and it was fucking phenomenal. And I,
Yes.
I love
Luda's one
that
of the
word.
best lyricists to come from the South. And when I think about his body of work, word of mouth, I think it's hard to follow up what an album can do like Back for the First Time. And the way in which he did it, it gave an early view into Ludacris, the actor, filmmaker, because you can listen to word of mouth. And yes, it starts off with a reference to coming to America, but you can hear the cinematic nature. There is no theater of the mind if there is no word of mouth. In my personal opinion, there isn't the opportunity to tap into a version of himself as an actor if there wasn't word of mouth either. Maybe it's a veto, but I'm not going to veto it. I'll definitely save the last veto moving forward because, again, there are other albums on here that I thought you might cut and didn't. And so there are going to be further cuts where we'll see what happens, but I'll at least hold the veto and understand the cut for word of mouth.
So you have one veto in your pocket. I'm not sure what you're going to use it for,
I don't either.
but you have it in your pocket and it stays. All right. Here is your fifth and undoubtedly most painful round because you're going to cut something that I really, really want to stay. What am I painfully going to have to say goodbye to?
It's a little painful for me too because I love the albums that are left on your list. But the first one that I would cut out of what remains would be Run the Jewels too. I would say that has to go.
I was okay
Shout
with
out to
that.
Killer Mike and LP. Level of success that they reached just made me so happy to see artists like them reach the heights that they have. And based on the albums that remain, there are more albums that had a larger cultural impact than Run the Jewels 2 did.
So the only thing I want to say about Run the Jewels, and this is both a extreme credit and also a knock. Every album they've ever released felt like in the moment the most important album ever released to me. And it feels like The Simpsons in that sort of way. And I've made that comparison with this hip hop group a lot of times. Like in the moment, they have such a cultural relevance, but then it almost makes them a prisoner of the moment where when you go back and listen to the records, it doesn't hit the same way because it was so entrenched in that current moment.
Hmm.
And that's both, you know, an extreme credit to them for capturing a specific moment, but also it doesn't make it like intensely re-listenable the way that other albums on this list are to me. So I'm okay with that being cut. It's hard, but I'm okay.
Cool. The next cut though is Chance the Rapper coloring book.
Hmm. I'm okay with that. All right. I'm okay
Yeah.
with those last two cuts. I love
Yep.
Chance the Rapper's coloring book. Again, it's another album that in the moment that was one of my favorite albums of that year. I think it was number 2 of
Mm.
2016, but upon re-listen, it had some filler to me. Um, it doesn't hold up quite the same way that it held up in the moment and the way that it was mind-blowing in the moment, with all the gospel rap and all the things. And I still listen to a lot of tracks from that album, and they're still in the
Hmm.
constant rotation, but the album as a whole does not hold up in the same way for me. So I'm okay with both those cuts. They are difficult, but I'm okay with both those.
Cool.
All right, so we are back for segment 2, and what we're going to do here is we are going to take the remaining albums that we have, which are currently unknown to anyone listening, and we are going to pare those down to the final 25. Steve, could you go ahead and tell me and the listeners, because I did not keep track of this, what the 33 remaining albums are?
All right. So your 17 remaining albums are Kanye West, My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, Kendrick Lamar, Good Kid, Mad City, Jay-Z's Black Album, Outkast, Stankonia, Clips, Hell Hath No Fury, Drake, Nothing Was the Same, Vince Staples, Summertime '06, Schoolboy Q, Blank Face LP, Mad Villain, Mad Villainy, Commons B, Lil Wayne, The Carter Five, J. Cole,
Carter
24
3.
Till. I'm sorry, Lil, yeah,
It
Lil
is
Wayne,
not the
the
Carter
Carter
Five.
Three.
Do not disparage
Right.
me in that way.
The Carter Three, my fault. I don't even know why I read it as the Carter Five. Uh, J. Cole 2014, Forest Hills Drive. Mac Miller, Swimming. Tyler the Creator, Igor. The Roots, Tipping Point. Nas, Godson. And Pusha T, Daytona.
What you got?
My remaining 16 are The Roots, Game Theory. Jay Z, 444. Lupe Fiasco, Food and Liquor. Kanye West, My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. Talib Kweli, Quality. Kendrick Lamar, Damn. Lil Wayne, The Carter 2. Wale, The Album About Nothing. Clips, Let God Sort 'Em Out. Ghostface Killah, Supreme Clientele. Outkast, Speakerboxxx, The Love Below. Jadakiss, Kiss the Game Goodbye. Drake, Take Care. Future, DS2. 50 Cent, Get Rich or Die Tryin'. And Tyler, the Creator, Call Me If You Get Lost.
Okay. All right. So this is where the one album per artist really comes into play
Yep.
because we need to decide which album from these artists gets to stay. We'll get to those discussions. And we also need to cut down a few albums here to get to 25 that represent the top 25 of the 21st century. All right. I think to me at least, there's like 15 to 18 that are safe. Like they are
Mm-hmm.
definitively there. There's a slot for all of them. We both have Kanye's My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. That
Right.
seems like, all right, we don't
That's
even need to
safe.
discuss that. That's there. We have
And I
a
think that's it.
Kendrick. Well, we have a Kendrick album.
Yes.
So
And we
that
have a Jay Z album, and we
we
have
have,
a Clips album,
yep,
and we have a Wayne album.
all those are safe because we have those. They are in there. We just need to decide which one.
We have a Roots album.
Roots album,
Yep.
Outkast album,
Mm-hmm.
Tyler album.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what, eight? I think we both have a Drake album. So that's nine.
Yep. Of the ones that remain that we don't have as repeats, there is Lupe Fiasco, Food and Liquor, Talib Kweli, Quality, Wale, The Album About Nothing, Ghostface, Killah, Supreme Clientele, Jadakiss, Kiss the Game Goodbye, Future DS2, 50 Cent, Get Rich or Die Tryin', Vince Staples, Summertime '06, Schoolboy Q, Blank Face LP, Mad Villain, Mad Villainy, Common B, J. Cole 2014, Forest Hills Drive, Mac Miller, Swimming, Nas's Godson, and Pusha T, Daytona.
Okay. That sounds about right. All right. So do we agree that those other ones are safe? Like those have a spot in the 25, or do we need to debate any of those as potential cuts?
I would argue that Get Rich or Die Trying should be safe,
Yes, agreed.
and I would argue that Supreme Clientele should be safe.
Yes. All right. Supreme Clientele can be safe. The only other one that I argue should be safe at this moment is Wale's mixtape about nothing.
I didn't have mixtape. I had album about nothing. Big difference between the
Oh
two.
shit. All right, that's gonna require a big discussion. So we need eight cuts. All right, you said in the previous segment that I did not cut ones that you thought I
Mm-hmm.
would cut and probably
Yeah.
should cut. So why don't you start with those and then I will potentially fight back or just let them be.
So cutting two from my list.
Yeah,
Out of the ones that remain from my list, the first one that I would cut would be Wale's The Album About Nothing.
I accept that. I think it should be the mixtape about nothing, but
The
also I would cut that
mixtape
anyway.
about nothing was fire, but I
That would
think
be
the
like
album
one.
about nothing was complete.
That's fair. I mean, it was an album versus mixtape, but the mixtape was the initial idea, and it was so
Yes,
fucking good and it's
it was
so fucking
awesome.
remarkable.
Yes.
And so representative of like the 2007, 8, 9 blog era of rapping.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
I love it so much. But it
Yeah.
would probably also be on the cut list for me.
And then the next one that I would cut, Jadakiss, Kiss the Game Goodbye.
Mm. That hurts.
I know.
I love Jadakiss so much. Jadakiss kind of falls into what I discussed with Freddie Gibbs. such an incredible rapper, but I don't know if he ever had like a fully complete project where
Mm.
like front to back it was like phenomenal all the way through. I don't feel great about it, but I do accept.
With that said, what two would you start from your list out of those that remain?
I would say I would cut J. Cole's 2014 Forest Hills Drive. Of the quote unquote holy triumvirate of the 2010s and early 2020s, I think J. Cole is by far the weakest. He doesn't have the technical skill of Kendrick, and he does not have the commercial viability of Drake. So he's always kind of been the stepson, so to speak, of this, triumvirate. 2014 Forest Hills Drive is by far his best project in my opinion, but I find it far behind anything that I would have three or four Kendrick projects ahead of that, and I would have probably have two Drake projects ahead of that, like in the list. So
Hmm.
I think I gotta cut him. And I
Yeah.
think the other one is unfortunately Mad Villain's Mad Villainy.
Mm.
It's a tough one, but that also feels like one of those where the rapping ahead of the songcraft.
Hmm.
And it's the one that I prefer the most as far as like that goes because they're such short snippets. Like every song is like a minute and a half. So
Hmm.
like it's just like a little snippet of rapping wizardry, but it is still that same problem as like Eminem or Rakim, where like I know Rakim is excellent. I hear it, I know it, I see it, but like a lot of Rakim's rapping tracks I just don't connect with. From
Hmm.
a songwriting standpoint, I totally respect what he's doing rapping wise and what he pioneered, but yeah, so I think those are the two that I would cut from mine.
Yeah, I mean that those would probably be the first two that I would cut from yours as well. Since especially since Vince and Schoolboy were vetoed and they're safe for now.
That brings us to segment three, where we are going to actually decide the now top 20 um, of these albums.
Let's start with determining which of the two for the artists that we have duplicates for. That way we know them in the final order.
Okay.
So like you have the Roots, the tipping point, and I have the Roots game theory, but both can't be.
We can start there with the roots. You can have game theory. I
Okay.
I know you love that album a lot. I love the tipping point a lot as well, but I don't feel too strongly about the tipping point. It's just my preferred album. I just love the sonics on it more so than game theory, but I do like the lyricism on game theory better than tipping point.
Mm,
So I hear you, and I will just I'll concede on that point. And game theory, absolutely.
cool. Well, that was easy enough.
Who we
We
got
can.
next?
It's between Jay Z's The Black Album and Jay Z's 444.
But it's not really because I also want to bring in American Gangster here,
Oh, okay.
and I want to bring in the Blueprint
Mm,
because
mm,
to me it's between four. The
mm-hmm.
Blueprint to me is the most commercially successful and the
Yep.
most important, quote unquote.
Yeah.
The Black Album to me is the best. American Gangster is the most ambitious, and 444 is the most complete amalgamation of all those things.
Right.
It's got everything.
Yeah.
Um,
Vulnerability,
but
braggadociousness.
does it exist without all the other albums before it? And that's kind of the piece that I was wanting to discuss is like shit, like what do we pick from Jay-Z? Because like to me, what I'm always going to return to is the Black Album. I think it's the
Mm-hmm.
best front to back. I
Mm-hmm.
don't even think that's in question. But I do think the more ambitious projects are 444 and American Gangster.
Hmm.
And the most commercially successful project is The Blueprint, which has a lot of fucking bangers. Heart of the City.
So I agree with everything that you just said. Between these two specifically, the Black Album was a great final album if it were his final album.
Hmm.
I think between those two, the reason why I would choose 444 is first, you mentioned consistency of production. Black Album had a different producer every song, and it still sounds like a cohesive project. But 444 and what No ID did with that, the way in which the samples were chopped on that album specifically are unlike any other way I've heard samples chopped. And I would say DJ Premier and Kanye West are probably the next two, in my opinion, as far as like best folks to chop up samples. And I think that they would even listened to 444 like, how the fuck did No ID do this? Um, so I think production
Story of
wise,
OJ.
Story
Like,
of OJ is incredible. Smile, the way in which he chopped up Stevie Wonder, it's elite. It's beyond magnificent. It's a testament to how producers should be working with their hands to craft something that is essentially done fully digitally. And then on top of just masterful production, the way in which Jay-Z is rapping is very evident of him being a, if not the master lyricist. The fact that none of it is done with a pen needs to be taken into account. And then on top of that, like I mentioned, the vulnerability and the storytelling and the craftsmanship, Smile, Story of OJ, Kill Jay-Z, but then also the other ones, was it Adonis was one of them, I think it was called. The music videos that went to it as well, I think were very much underrated. Adness, sorry about his father, not Adonis, Adness. Legacy, uh, Marcy Me, just again the storytelling, the craftsmanship, the bridge of his youth to his adulthood and everything that he's seen in between are all fully represented in this. 444, I think, is Jay-Z's best album, and he has a lot of incredible albums, and arguments can be made for several of them as far as it being his best album. But in my opinion, if you were to pit Jay-Z versus Jay-Z and which version of Hove would out rap what other version and who's really, leaned into their full expression as a human being, it's the person that shows up on 444 for me.
I agree. I'll take that. I think the Black Album is probably more important culturally, but even so, I think the Blueprint is probably more important than that culturally. But 444 to me is the best artistic expression, and that's personally what I'm interested in is
Hmm.
artistic expression. And
Hmm.
444 to me is the right decision, and I think the decision that will ruffle some feathers, and so I like that. The punk in me likes that. All right. Let's go to Kendrick.
Good Kid, Mad City versus Damn. Mm,
But
mm.
we can't discount To Pimp a Butterfly. Like that
No,
has to be in the conversation.
no. You can't discount Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers.
No. Um, so while you can't discount that, I will discount that in a sense. Like it's the least accessible one. Um,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
probably the best artistic expression, honestly, upon re-listen and revisiting,
Hmm.
but it's the least accessible. I think he had a better balance of artistic expression and accessibility on both Good Kid, Mad City and on To Pimp a Butterfly. Personally, I'm gonna go Good Kid, Mad City because shit, am I? Cohesive story is the only reason I have for Good Kid, Mad City. Um, Damn is a lot more difficult to understand, especially with the backwards and forwards different listening. And I know that's probably an argument for it, but Good Kid Mad City has the better tracks. Like the highlights on Good Kid, Mad City to me are better than the highlights on Damn. And I'm specifically going to say Mad City and Money Trees.
Mm.
And those are the two best tracks in his entire discography. And they're both on that record. So that's what I'm going to go with.
I stand in agreement with what you say, which is why it makes it hard. Like, damn, he mentioned, and he also acknowledged the potential argument for it too, but just the narrative through Good Kid, Mad City, which is definitely undeniable. It makes sense as to why on the cover it says a short film by Kendrick Lamar,
Mm-hmm.
because it 100% feels like that. And shout out to Maya Angelou being on that album as well. But damn, you mentioned the forwards and the backwards. The way in which you have to not only write songs, but then sequence them in such a way where you're intentional about a story that, like they say in the album, is it wickedness or is it weakness? Where you listen to it in one direction, in one sequence, let's say the way in which it is on the initial pressing, starting with Blood and ending with Duckworth. It's is it wickedness or is it weakness definitely shows up as far as where the narrative and the theme of the song start and where they end up. Then when you flip that and start with Duckworth and you work your way to Blood, you can see how something that started off with a decision to essentially not rob this person and ultimately be top dog and Kendrick's father, and the story leading into Kendrick being in the studio, or being alive at all to even exist, and then how there is this arc that ends with DNA and blood versus starting there is masterful. I mean, it's one of the main reasons why it won a Pulitzer Prize.
The only
You know,
rap album ever.
yeah. And so like when I think about narrative and I think about storytelling and I think about craftsmanship, between these two albums, they are both there. And so without Good Kid, Mad City, there wouldn't be the opportunity to do something as masterful as Damn, where you can have a completely different listening experience listening to them forwards or backwards. But at the same time, I can also understand and even agree with the argument that Good Kid, Mad City is the choice. And almost because of how direct it was, from start to finish, you didn't need to have this mind blowing aha moment to listen to the album in its reverse. Yes, that adds to its impact and its recognition, or need to be recognized. But if debating between the two and kind of just putting them out to somebody who never heard Kendrick before and what would resonate possibly most with a fresh ear and a listener who is unfamiliar with him or his body of work, or maybe even unfamiliar with hip hop, Good Kid, Mad City might strike a more direct chord with that person than Damn would. And so for that, I'll lean Good Kid, Mad City and understand the cut.
Let's do Tyler. I think that's going to be a
Mm.
difficult one.
Yeah, I'm honestly good with either choice, to be honest with you. So we got Call Me If You Get Lost versus Igor, and I'm good with either, to be quite honest with you. Part of me wants to throw Bastard into the conversation.
No, I'm vetoing Bastard. Great in the sense that like it establishes everything that Tyler's about in terms of like early artistry and just speaking his mind and being free. But like Igor and Call Me If You Get Lost is all those things without the problematic nature of it.
Of course. Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
and honestly, I'm good with your choice of Call Me If You Get Lost because it's a better rap album.
Yeah.
Because Igor, to me, what's phenomenal about it is its boundary pushing and how
Hmm.
it's not genre specific,
Hmm.
and it's really difficult to confine it to a genre, and it's actually almost unfair to the album to call it a hip hop album.
Yeah.
Whereas Call Me If You Get Lost is like it's got all the artistic stuff and it's got all the narrative that Igor has and that Chromacopia has and all the
Hmm.
things
Hmm.
that Tyler's been doing, but it does it in a way that is a throwback to all these late 2000s, early 2010s mixtape era stuff
Hmm.
with DJ Drama just showing up and doing stuff, and it serves the narrative of the album and like the
Yeah.
artistic project. And when like he shows up and he's like, on Lumberjack, and he's like, hold up, wait a minute.
Yeah, yeah,
And then it hits with the I wish he
yeah.
would.
Yes.
Like it really hits. And
Hmm.
so I'm good with Call Me If You Get Lost here. Very comfortable with it. Think it's the right choice, especially for a hip hop list. That's not to denigrate Igor in any way, but it's
Right.
just to acknowledge the fact that like Igor is so genre pushing
Hmm.
that it's tough to like put it and confine it to a hip hop album.
No, that's real. That's real. Our next artist to discuss would be Drake, either Take Care or Nothing Was the Same.
This one's easy for me in the sense that like, okay, get it. Take Care is the one that everyone loves and is the one that stated Drake's mission statement to the world, but Nothing Was the Same was the one that perfected it. And I think it's so much better than Take Care. Like it's not even close for me. And I don't understand the
Wow.
I don't understand the love for Take Care. I don't
Mm.
like,
Mm.
you know, it's good. It's fine. But when I listen to that
Fine.
album, I'm just like, this is mixtape level stuff, whereas Nothing Was the Same was like, this is the fully realized idea. And I don't understand to me why people love Take Care so much.
Hmm.
So this is the one that I'm hot about,
Hmm.
so to speak.
Interesting. I knew there was going to be an argument. That wasn't the argument I anticipated you making. Questioning of even why folks enjoy Take Care in the way in which they do. I say for me personally, between the two, Take Care is probably the last of the Drake that we got before the personas really started to show up. I think Worst Behavior and Started from the Bottom really is the beginning of how he represented himself from the moment that that album dropped until today. Drake was, for all intents and purposes, in that backpack rapper lane, in that you could write a love song, but they could also be very introspective. And it was almost like, we were kind of reading this dude's diary in a lot of ways. And I think that what he did on Take Care musically, shout out to 40 and his production. Drake has definitely not sounded the same since 40 hasn't been doing the majority of his production, but he definitely did it on this album. And those who also contributed, like Boy Wonder and others, were really, really leaned in and locked in on this. The features that are on there, from Andre 3000 to Kendrick to Rihanna, Wayne, Stevie Wonder. They like Take Care is a complete project. The Weekend, it's a complete project, and I think that when I look back and listen back at both of these albums, for me, I don't hear too much filler in Take Care. I hear, if anything, there's a definite, difference between, or there's less of a difference between the smash hits and the album cuts on Take Care than there is on Nothing Was the Same. Like, we can point out Worst Behavior and Started from the Bottom, but then there are also some misses on Nothing Was the Same as well. They're good songs, but still misses. 305 to My City, From Time is cool, but it also is missable. There are other better Janae songs than From Time, that's for sure. Wu Tang Forever was cool in the moment, but it wasn't forever. Own It didn't stick. But then I go look at, Take Care and listen back to Take Care, and even the lesser known songs like Underground Kings or Lord Knows with Rick Ross, Doing It Wrong with Stevie Wonder, those songs still hold up very much so. The only kind of album or filler kind of track is the very last one, which is a bonus one, and that was the motto. So I mean, for me, Take Care would be the one that I would use the other veto on versus the two.
That's fair. And if you're using the veto, I can't do anything about it. Um, what I would just say is that to me, the key thing about Drake's persona is the conflict between who he was and who he wanted to become, the
Mm.
ego and the id, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
And so Take Care happened before the ego was there, which is what you discussed. And Nothing Was the Same was the perfect encapsulation of both of those things to me. And like when I hear a track like Pound Cake with Jay-Z and you want to talk
Mm-hmm.
about features, like holy shit, that song.
For sure. I mean, that song is great. Um,
And to me, like that's the best song on either project. And then the
um,
that to me is the best song on either project. And then the second one is actually the one with Sampha. What the
oh,
fuck?
too much.
Yeah, Too Much. Don't think about it
Mm-hmm.
too much, too
Mm-hmm.
much. Like
Yeah.
hot damn. Like that goes so hard. And then when the beat drops,
Mm-hmm.
so Nothing Was the Same. To me, it
Yeah.
has the higher moments. I don't disagree with you that those low moments are low, but those high moments, like, holy shit, like that's when, to me, Drake reached the pinnacle of his artistry, is like marrying those two things of the I came from nothing, now we're here, and the I'm here now, but I'm unsure of my place within this.
Oh, I don't know if he's unsure when by the
Well,
time he gets to nothing was the
I think
same.
he's unsure on that album. He's very much not unsure now, and that's why his artistry has plummeted, and everything since Scorpion is fucking just forgettable.
Yeah,
Um,
unfortunately.
yeah,
Yeah.
very
It's
unfortunately,
been
but
8 years now. It's been 8 years
it's been eight
since
years since
Scorpion.
something has been even relevant, and
Hmm.
even Scorpion was a double album where at least
Yeah. A
12
good.
songs were
Yeah.
filler.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so I'm not going to debate that, like, but Nothing Was the Same to me was the project where like it all came together.
Yeah. The more it's interesting that the more that you defended it, the more I was very firm in the veto.
Ouch, but
Yeah.
okay.
Like I'm sorry, like I was literally like, I was going back through the song list and like actually looking the vote like and really just trying to agree with you. Like it actually got worse.
Ouch, but okay. Like I gotta respect the
I was
veto.
really and I was genuinely trying to like agree with you.
Dude, Pound Cake and fucking Too Much with Sampha are the two best songs between either of those projects.
I don't
Uh-huh.
know. I mean, I can just sit here and look at headlines: "Take Care," "Marvin's Room,"
Headlines is
"Underground Kings,"
garbage.
"Make Me Proud,"
Headlines is
"Lord
so
Knows."
bad. Lord
Headlines is
Knows is
still
really good.
headlines is still better
Marvin's Room.
than headlines
No,
is definitely
headlines
still
is
better
no,
than
no.
worst behavior.
Well, yeah, okay, fine. Better than Worst Behavior. It's not
And
better
worst
than.
behavior's top four songs on Nothing Was the Same.
No, it is not. Pound Cake, Too Much.
Then where are
Hold
you
on,
going?
we're going home. Hold on,
It,
we're going home is
it's a
so
pop
dope.
song. It's not even a rap song.
But that
That's a
doesn't
pop
matter.
song.
I mean, then we're discounting the whole Igor record.
Well, we already did.
Okay, but we didn't with prejudice. Like, all right,
Either
fine,
way, I'm sticking with my veto. Nothing
fine.
or Take
Take
Care is
Care can
definitely a
stay.
better album than Nothing Was the Same.
It's
Yeah.
not, but okay. I accept.
Whenever we see each other in person again, we're gonna listen to both of these albums back to back.
Yeah, we are, and I'm gonna play fucking Too Much, and you're gonna lose your mind because it's
We're gonna have a
fucking
versus between these
incredible.
two albums. We're gonna have a versus between these two albums. We'll pick
I can't wait.
Yeah,
It's
well,
gonna be so
let's pick
good.
5 songs from each album, and which one holds it down. Let's do it. I'm with it. I'm with it.
The top three of mine is gonna be incredible. The last two are gonna be a little bit dodgy. I
I
will
know,
admit
and I
that.
got 5 that aren't dodgy. That's how I know it's a better album.
If you play headlines, it's gonna be dodgy as hell.
No,
Headlines
it's not. I'm not gonna
sucks.
play. I don't.
Okay,
I'm not gonna
good.
play headlines, and that's
Headlines
what I'm saying. I
sucks.
don't have to play headlines, but you have to play worst behavior. That's the problem.
I don't have to play worst behavior.
Mm.
Also, worst behavior is kind of good. Also,
It is.
also,
It is kind of good though. It is kind of
it's like good, but in a bad way.
good. Worst.
Worst behavior. Also, I really love Drake's If You're Reading This, It's Too Late. I couldn't like
Oh
put
yeah,
it on
yeah,
this
yeah, yeah,
list, but I
yeah. No,
really
I
do
could.
love that album.
I do. Me too. But if I wanted Quentin Miller on this list, I would have put that album on this list.
Hmm.
Because yeah, shout out to Quentin Miller. Also, his feature on Jay Electronica's "Who Killed Michael Jackson."
Yep.
Dope. All right, so there's 2 more artists, I think, that we have the same album, or we have different albums for, and one of them is Clip's "Hell Hath No Fury" versus "Let God Sort 'Em Out."
All right. So this is literally my own only argument for Let God Sort Him Out because I do think objectively it's better. Is it recency bias?
That's a good question.
To me, Hell Hath No Fury has stood the test of time. And granted, three songs on that album to me don't hold up, but the other seven do. And Let God Sort Him Out is undoubtedly a masterpiece, but I haven't had any time to sit with it. So I don't
Mm,
know. Hell Hath No Fury, 7 out of 10 tracks, masterpiece, versus this album that just came out last year.
"Hell Hath No Fury" is 12 tracks.
Shit.
What I can say is that there's maybe one song on a 13 track album with "Let God Sort 'Em Out" that quote unquote doesn't hold up. Everything else is at the top of their catalog. That's the primary argument that I would have for "Let God Sort 'Em Out" versus "Hell Hath No Fury" is that there are songs on the album to cut, but then on top of that, they've always been great rappers, both Push and Malice, but their economy of lines and still getting so much across was remarkable, and also the double and triple entendres that are built into such seemingly
Hmm.
simple on the surface lines was just a mastercraft of penmanship. And then on top of that, Pharrell is at his best. What Pharrell is doing on "Let God Sort 'Em Out, holy shit. Definitely better than the beats that are on "Hell Hath No Fury," and those are great beats. Pharrell did all those too, even though Chad gets credited for a lot. According to Push and Pharrell did pretty much all of those beats on that album. And it's no shade to Chad. There is no Pharrell without Chad. But Pharrell by himself on "Let God Sort Him Out," different. Very different.
Undoubtedly. But is it recency bias?
No, I don't believe so. I think that 10 years down the line, and Eclipse is already going to drop more music too. I would argue that it will be hard for them to meet the bar that "Let God Sort 'Em Out" has set for them. Harder than it was for them to try to meet the bar of "Hell Hath No Fury." That's for sure. I mean, even Push said himself the only reason why he may argue "Hell Hath No Fury" over "Let God Sort Him Out" as his favorite project was because of the moment and seeing in the moment what Pharrell was doing, knowing that him and Chad were essentially on the outs at that point. But that time in his life, what they were just in the mix of and all of that. But he even acknowledges, like, "Let God Sort Him Out" is really that one. So,
Well, first of all, every artist always argues for their newest project. It's
no, they
just,
don't.
yes, they do. It's
In
just,
marketing wise,
yes,
possibly, but
marketing wise, but like
yeah,
we're in the marketing stage because it came out last year.
he said for himself, "Hell Hath No Fury" was that number one during the midst of all this marketing.
All right,
I'm
so the
cool with
only the
either.
only songs that don't hold up on Hell Hath No Fury, now that I have it, Wamp Wamp What It Do,
Yeah.
which is still a good song, but it
Mhm.
doesn't hold up the same way. Dirty Money for me, and Trill. kind of nightmares with Bilal and Pharrell Williams. I'm having
Hmm.
nightmares.
So you got 4 songs out of a 12-song project that you're like immediately like, that ain't it.
But
Are there 4 on a 13-song project in Let God Sort 'Em Out that you're like, meh?
I haven't had fucking 11 years with it. Like those songs only came about after 11 years. So this is the whole discussion. So like
With that in mind, though, knowing that you've had less time with this project and how much this project has impacted, did Hell Hath No Fury have the same impact
yes,
in the moment
it did.
that Let God
Yes,
Sort 'Em Out does now?
that I can say yes it did. Hell
Okay.
Hath No Fury was fucking huge for me in the
Hmm.
moment.
As a fellow Clips fan, for my Clips experience, I would say that Lord Willin had almost the same, if not a greater impact for me than either Hell Hath No Fury or Let God Sort 'Em Out.
Totally fair. That album doesn't hold up as much, but in the moment its impact was impeccable. All right, fine. Let's go let God sort them out.
We
No,
can
no,
also
no, no.
revisit.
I think you are right. I think that's the right decision. We
But
just
it
need to
is
have
fair to question
we
the
had to have
recency
the
bias.
discussion. Yeah.
Absolutely. It is fully fair.
All right. What else?
So the next one would be Lil Wayne's The Carter 2 versus The Carter 3.
So this is a discussion that I wanted to have because we have done versions of this podcast before,
Hmm.
and I feel like you said the Carter 2 was your favorite Lil Wayne album, which
Yeah.
I felt was categorically just incorrect.
Yeah.
Um, I feel like
um,
the Carter 3 is by far the best Lil Wayne album, both because its highs are the highest and the in between. Although there's 3 tracks on Lil Wayne's The Carter 3 that are awful. Awful, I won't listen to them. But the rest of the album, it's a 15-song album, so like 12 of them are impeccable, in my
what are the
opinion.
ones that you just absolutely hate?
I gotta
Uh,
look this up again, but so you
Pussy
gotta grant.
Monster. It's probably one of them.
Yes, Pussy Monster is absolutely one of them. That is undoubted.
I mean, so Carter 2 is my favorite Lil Wayne album. Carter 3 is a better album. And so that's
Okay.
why I immediately said I'll defer to the Carter 3 being the choice because not only as far as just the songs that are on there, but just its impact. Carter 3 is definitely that album. As far as rapping ability and all of that, I think his skill set is featured as a wordsmith is better on the Carter 2, but his skill set as a conceptualist for songs is definitely better on the Carter 3. I mean, Phone
Yes.
Home, Dr. Carter, Comfortable.
Comfortable. I'm so glad you brought that up because Comfortable is one of the most underrated songs that's ever been fucking made.
Hmm.
Like, why do people not hold that up in the
I
same
don't know.
regard as everything else? Comfortable
I
is
don't know.
fucking
Comfortable's
incredible.
Lil Wayne with a Kanye beat and
Uh-huh.
Babyface on the hook, and it works real well.
It
Tie
works
My
so
Hands
well.
also. Let the
Tie My
Beat
Hands
Build
is
was great.
unbelievable. Let the beat
Mrs.
build.
Officer is a classic. Amelie is a classic.
All right,
Lollipop is a classic.
exactly. And
Yeah,
so
nah,
the only
yeah.
ones that don't hold up for me, and they didn't hold up in the moment, and they still do not. Phone Home is terrible. It's an awful song. I hate it. I will not listen to it.
It doesn't need to be on the album. I would agree with that. I enjoy it for its novelty, but it doesn't need to
No,
be on the album. I
novelty
would agree.
wise, but that's exactly what it is. It's a
Yeah.
novelty song. Phone Home is terrible. Will not listen to it. Lollipop is really bad. Don't want it. Don't need it.
R.I.P. Static Major. He was an important person in R&B and didn't live long enough to really have the opportunity to get recognized like he should. I will
Totally
say that.
fair. And Pussy Monster is the other one.
Hmm.
Song's terrible.
Cut those three, and the album is perfect, top to
Yep.
bottom.
Yep.
Perfect. Yeah,
The Carter 3.
fully agree. Carter 3 it is. And then so discussion as far as artists that we have the same are Outkast Stankonia, which is your choice, versus Speakerboxxx Love Below, which is my choice.
Brother, I love you very, very much, but this isn't even fucking close. This isn't even fucking close. It's Stankonia. Like, what are we talking about? The Love Below and Speakerboxxx, like, okay, if we wanted to separate them, I would take a Speakerboxxx argument over the Love Below argument. But like the Love Below is to me exactly what Andre 3000 fell into with his fucking weird flute album. Like it's the start of
Oh
that,
shit.
which is not even it's not bad, but it's not listenable. It's
The
a
Love
listenable
Below is
project.
not listenable?
The Love Below is the start of the not listenable fucking flute shit.
Oh, you're tripping. I don't know about that. So like the opportunity to explore for sure is definitely present. But
Yes.
Prototype, She Lives in My Lap, Roses, bro, not listenable. Is a hard one to that's a tough critique.
Maybe it's my overreaction to whatever the fucking hit song is now that I can't remember it.
Oh, hey ya.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Maybe it's
it's
just my
definitely
like very
yeah.
guttural reaction to Hey Ya. But Hey Ya is a great song. It's just
Yeah.
I have a reaction to it at this point in my life. So I don't
I
even
think the
know.
way it's been used commercially in probably the last 10 to 15 years has fucked it up. Hey Ya, I think set the template for Pharrell to do a song like Happy.
Hmm.
And both of those are songs that are easily able to be thrown into a Target commercial because of their vibe and all of that. So I think that like as a result of that, they get annoying pretty quick. That's why I was pointing out Prototype and Vibrate and Behold a Lady, Roses. She lives in my lap. My lord, like there are some great music on the Love Below. Great music. And but with that said, Stankonia is the best of Outkast not doing two separate albums. So I'm totally cool with Stankonia. I mean, you got Miss Jackson, So Fresh, So Clean, Bombs Over Baghdad, Explosion.
Bombs Over Baghdad. Like that's
Yeah,
to me
yeah.
where it ends and begins is like that song is one of the greatest songs of this century.
Mhm,
Um, and it's on this project. And
mhm.
to me, like Outkast is such a difficult band. And I say band because they are a band.
A duo.
Well, but you can't discount the production from fuck their
Oh,
name
Dungeon
is
Family
and
or Organized Noise, I guess technically.
Organized
Yeah,
Noise. That's
yeah.
what I'm looking for. You can't discount their production. Like they are a band to me.
But now is it Organized Noise or is it Outkast that's crafting
Noise,
the
it's
argument?
organized noise with Andre 3000 and Big Boy spitting over it.
Mhm,
That's to me what Outkast is, and that's why I love Aquemini. That's
mhm,
why I love AT Aliens. Like that's
mhm,
why I love those albums from the
mhm.
90s, which are not capable for this list. That's
Yeah,
why I have to go with Stankonia because it's the last time they were all together as a band, and I thought
yeah.
they brought the best out of each other.
I agree with that. All right, well there it is.
Yeah.
See you later, Speakerboxxx.
All right. I think we have to leave it there. And whenever we bring this back, we will do the top 20 and
Cool.
break it down album by album. Thank you for listening to this selection episode spectacular. Steve, what do you got?
I'm just appreciative of even having the conversation straight up. I'm
Same.
going through our list right now and seeing what our final number is. We got a top 10.
We need 10 more.
Our top 10 albums of the 21st century hip hop wise are, in no particular order, The Roots Game Theory, Jay Z's 444, Kanye's My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, Clips Let God Sort 'Em Out, Ghostface Supreme Clientele, Drake Take Care, Tyler Call Me If You Get Lost, Kendrick Good Kid Mad City, Outkast Stankonia, and Lil Wayne The Carter 3. That's a hell of a top 10 album list right there.
That is a hell of a top 10. If you had to, out of those top 10, which would be the drop for you?
Tyler Call Me If You Get Lost.
Shit.
Yep.
It's between that and the Roots for me, but I know the Roots are very important to you. And
It
also,
would be between those two for me as well.
okay,
If I listen to Call Me If You Get Lost start to bottom and I listen to Game Theory top to bottom, I think about how those albums were put together, the themes in them, the messages, the quality of craftsmanship. They're both arguments that have to be made for either, but I would lean Game Theory.
so that's top 10. So thank you for listening, if in fact you do listen to this, and see you later.
Peace.